Please welcome the President and CEO of Black Enterprise Magazine, Earl G. Graves, Jr.
Good morning, ladies. Did you enjoy last night's Legacy Award dinner? Outstanding. Well, it is my pleasure to once again welcome you to the 13th Annual Women of Power Summit. This past year, you've really shown your courage and resilience and how you are affecting change. And as much as some of that change may have been hard, these next few days are planned to fortify you. This year's theme, Undivided, Power on Your Own Terms, is an invitation to validate, unite, and strengthen one another. This is the time where you can remove the armor and take cover in the comfort of each other. Now, whether you are reconnecting with your summit circle or here for the first time and discovering who is here, and who is here for the first time, please raise your hand. You coming back? Okay. The support you will find from one another is what we inspire you to keep climbing. So we've planned events and brought together a star lineup of CEOs, career coaches, businesswomen, and legends just for you. To add an extra dose of motivation, our experts will be discussing timely and relevant topics from the Me Too movement, how to stay woke and employed, how to lead with power and influence, and so much more. In addition to that, the breakout sessions are thoughtful, thought-provoking, fun, and engaging. Now, our focus to our mission for the next few days is to uplift, equip, and energize you to greater heights, rewards and fulfillment of purpose, both professionally and personally. We have assembled one of the most diverse and exceptional rosters of speakers and thought leaders ever, from our inspiring Legacy Award honorees to President Obama's National Security Advisor, Susan Rice, from Essenson's surprise new owner, Richard Lou Dennis, and to life coach extraordinaire, Ilanya Bunzant. And from Queen Bee's mom, Tina Knowles Lawson. I probably said that wrong, didn't I? Queen Bey. My daughters must be sitting there saying to herself, Jesus, Dad. The little-known architect behind Misty Copeland's phenomenal global brand. So let's get ready to have the time of your life, or at least a time to remember. Once again, ladies, welcome and please enjoy the summit. Before we move on to the program, please allow me to indulge for a moment to call your attention to the Black Enterprise events that follow the Women of Power in 2018. Later this month, we'll be hosting our first ever HBCU Tech Prep Academy. And that is in partnership with Women of Power sponsor Toyota, who's here, and the sponsor of the of this Women of Power Summit. And that's going to be taking place at Morehouse College. That'll be later this month, actually. Then we will be bringing our annual Entrepreneurs Summit, hosted by Nationwide, who is also here, to Charlotte, North Carolina, June 6th through 9th. And from June 13th through 16th, we're in partnership with Film Life for the 22nd Annual American Black Film Festival. And last year's Women of Power Summit was where we first announced the creation of our Black Men Excel Summit, Black Men Excel event. We took the word summit out of it because we didn't want to confuse the two. I guess there's no confusion in Women of Power with Black Men Excel. But at least that's what the few men said that in our office. Which you endorsed with such enthusiastic ovation. And after a successful launch last year, the second Black Men Excel, again hosted by FedEx, who's a sponsor here, will take place in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida from August 29th to September 2nd. That's the Black Men Excel Center. And ladies, we definitely want you to be there with us to celebrate the Black Men Excellence of Color, because there really is no celebration for men unless women are in attendance. Not so much for Women of Power, though. It can be me and 5 of my friends, and that's it. That's good enough. And then in October, we are hosting our 4th annual Tech Connect Summit in Silicon Valley. So you can learn about all of these events, as well as a number of the other offerings currently under development at the latest version of blackenterprise.com, which we just relaunched in December. And that's also where you can see great content such as full episodes of our Women in Power television show that's on demand. Lastly, there will be 2 giveaways this week: a Dell laptop and a full expense-paid trip to the Bahamas. Now, 2 things you have to do. You can increase your chances of winning these prizes, compliments of the sponsors, by tweeting using hashtag BEWPS. That's hashtag BEWPS. And we will announce the winners on Friday, but you must be present to win, so get started tweeting. Now Black Enterprise is proud to have sponsors that stand with us to build on the great legacy of this event. And that has certainly been the case with our title sponsor, ADP. For the past 3 years, and as I announced last night, well into the future, into 2021. Please join me in welcoming the Chief Diversity and Corporate Social Responsibility Officer for ADP, Rita Mitjans, who is going to introduce our next speaker.
Well, thank you very much, Butch, for that warm welcome and introduction. And thank you to your team for being such great partners in creating such a high-impact event. So good morning. On behalf of ADP, I'd like to extend my personal welcome to this year's Black Enterprise Women of Power Summit. It seems fitting that I'm opening the session today on International Women's Day. I am truly honored to be among such accomplished and inspiring women of color, and to have ADP once again be named a top company for diversity by Black Enterprise. This kind of recognition is not possible without the unwavering support of our senior leadership, and in particular, our CEO, Carlos Rodriguez, who you heard from last night, and our own Debbie Dyson, who are as authentic and committed to diversity as anyone I've ever met. In keeping with this year's theme, Undivided Power on Your Own Terms, I'd like to open the session by sharing my personal perspective on the significance behind these words. At a time when we're being flooded by messages of divisiveness, it's more important than ever to stand together as women, regardless of where we come from or what we look like, in support of each other. For me, that means mentoring and sponsoring the next generation of women, and as a Latina, especially women that come from underrepresented groups. It means bringing awareness to unconscious bias by challenging assumptions about potential and desire during the talent selection process. It means leveraging my role to share sustainable programs and practices in our industry that provide opportunities for great, diverse talent to shine. And it means serving as a role model and mentor to young girls of color through the Big Brothers Big Sisters program. This one is particularly important to me as a Latina and first-generation college graduate. We all have special, unique powers, so I'm especially drawn to the idea of power on our own terms. Only you can define what success means to you. Happiness and fulfillment comes from recognizing what those special powers are and using them to make a difference for ourselves and our world. I am especially fortunate to be using my special powers to help make ADP the kind of place where talented, diverse associates can thrive and make a meaningful difference for our clients, our company, and the communities in which we work and live. When I began my career journey, I wasn't as clear what those special powers were, but I was drawn to the idea of having an impact and fulfilling my parents' hope of realizing the American dream. You see, my family left their homeland in Cuba with nothing but the clothes they were wearing to come to a land where they didn't speak the language and had really no financial source of support to give me the chance for a better life. They worked multiple jobs and went to school at night to learn English and new skills. So I attribute my work ethic, my resiliency and love of education and learning to them. I leveraged these special powers as I grew my early career in sales. At a time, breaking barriers like being the first female sales manager for a large manufacturing company, and the first Hispanic woman to lead institutional and credit rating agency relations for a large publicly traded investment bank. I didn't know it then, but this was my first foray into diversity and inclusion. When you're the only one, you are going to stand out. You're going to experience some level of isolation as others in the majority are not sure how to react to you. This is why I'm as passionate about diversity as I am about inclusion and creating an inclusive culture at ADP. In fact, we measure inclusion across all our workforce demographics with the same rigor we measure our efforts to hire, advance, and retain diverse talent, because we know that without a culture that welcomes and embraces differences, it's difficult for diversity to thrive. I am proud to say that we have achieved marked improvement in the engagement of our diverse associates, in particular, our women of color, and that we are above industry benchmarks in this area. For ADP, the business case for diversity is clear and compelling. We're a company that leverages technology and deep domain expertise to help our clients with their most significant investment, their people. Before taking on this role for ADP, I spent most of my previous career in a variety of business roles spanning strategy, marketing, and operations. So I am particularly passionate about connecting our diversity strategy to our business. A good example is how our Women's Network partnered with our product development team to sponsor a Women in Tech event to attract more female engineers to ADP, and how our African American Resource Group partnered with our client services team to invite clients to this event. I am excited to welcome representatives from 8 of our clients as our guests, including ADT, Coca-Cola, DuPage, Flying Food Group, Goldman Sachs, Leidos, Los Angeles Lakers, and Nestle Fuels. ADP pays 1 in 5. Liz, yes. ADP pays 1 in 5 people in the US, so I'm pretty confident that there are more clients in this room that I also would like to welcome. Today, there is little doubt that having a strong commitment to diversity and inclusion is a competitive advantage. The available talent pool is almost 50% millennial, and diversity, inclusion, and social responsibility are the top 3 reasons why millennials join an organization. With 4% unemployment, this work is really more relevant than ever. I am fortunate to wear 2 hats at ADP, leading the company's community and philanthropic initiatives, and it's a responsibility I don't take lightly, because I recognize the power that aligning our engagement, diversity, and giving priorities can have in the communities in which we work and live. I am particularly proud of the 42,000 volunteer hours our associates logged in last year in supporting organizations that help those that can't help themselves, and of the almost $500,000 that the ADP Foundation funded in scholarships for underrepresented students who have the promise but not the means. At ADP, we're committed to walking the talk, which is why for the 4th year in a row, we have sponsored our own Women of Power to attend this transformative event. There are 40 among you this morning. Investing in initiatives like the Black Enterprise Women of Power Summit is just one of the ways we'll continue to walk the talk. I am proud to say that over the past 4 years, these efforts have yielded meaningful improvements and results. A 6-point improvement in the number of female executives at ADP, who now represent 32% of our executive ranks, and a 5-point improvement in ethnic minorities, which now represent 20% of our executive ranks. Thank you. While we are very proud of these results, we know our work is not done until our leadership fully represents our workforce. And that requires we continue to be intentional about investing and advancing diverse talent. I'd like to close by leaving you with these thoughts. Only you can define your potential. Only you can decide to get out of your comfort zone. Only you can define the path to your success. Only you can decide to be accountable for making it happen. That's what it means to have power on our own terms. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this morning, and enjoy the conference.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Caroline Clarke, Editorial Director of the Women of Power Summit and host of the Women of Power TV.
Thank you, and good morning. Thank you, Rita, and thanks again to ADP for your valued partnership. Last night was awesome, and not because of everything that you bring to this event and last night's event, but because we were so richly touched by those we honored. Among them, this morning's featured guest, Donna Brazile. We know of her history and power from her role as the first African-American woman to direct a major presidential campaign, acting as campaign manager for Al Gore in 2000, to serving as the former interim national chair of the Democratic National Committee in 2016. What a year for that. From an introspective young girl to one of our nation's most influential political strategists, Donna Brazile has stood true to her own mantra that it takes but one person, one moment, one conviction to start a ripple of change. When she unabashedly shook up the fiber of the Democratic Party in her most recent book, Hacks, that ripple erupted into a tsunami, forcing the political party that has for so long taken us for granted to now prove its own self-worth. And Donna bravely stood her ground, even as it seemingly sank beneath her. This woman of power more than speaks her truth. She owns it completely and unapologetically. Ladies and gentlemen, she epitomizes what women of power is all about and what we need more of in this democracy. It is my great honor to welcome once again the Barbara Graves Legacy Award winner for 2018, Donna Brazile.
Thank you. That was a great introduction. Good morning. Good morning. How many of you woke up this morning with joy? All right. You know, Carol, in the Bible says, weeping may endure for a night, but joy, 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 joy. Joy cometh in the morning.
That's right.
Joy.
Well, we got joy because you're
I have joy.
back.
And this is only my second cup of coffee. Oh, hail to the yes. Yes, yes, yes. You know, the best thing I did this morning, the best thing I know is that I called in and said, no, I will not be at the DNC meeting. I am here at the Women of Power Summit because you matter. And Caroline, I didn't even give them my proxy. I told them I'll show up tomorrow if I feel like it. I have spent over 49 years carrying that donkey up the hill. Today, I'm here to push you up the hill. It's your turn. Hallelujah. Let's get to work. It's your turn.
Oh, you're ready? You're ready for me now. Okay.
I'm ready for you.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. And Donna and I talked about this last night. Butch and I talked about it last night. You know, I have a million questions. I could sit here for 3 months. Having read Hacks, which if you have not, and you know, there was a lot of hacking going on about Hacks.
Yes.
If you haven't read it, just read it. Just read it. It's a great book, honestly. It answers so many questions. It's very illuminating. And given everything that has recently happened since this book was published, in terms of indictments that came down,
thank you.
You have to feel extraordinarily vindicated. Just saying. But it's a great book.
Can I also...
I didn't plug it enough?
No. the reason why I think it's important, and by the way, there's an audio version for those of you who like to walk, especially if you're walking on a spring day and your step is not what it should be, because you spent the winter months doing things you should not have done with that cornbread dressing. This will put a little bit of pep in your step because it's dripping with hot sauce. And if you've been plugged up and couldn't get it out because sometimes it gets stuck and you hold it in and you find yourself with acid reflux, that'll help you. I also tell people in the book that I have my alter ego. She's not Sapphire. I know y'all got Sapphire. Some of y'all got Matilda in you. I have Dolores. And Dolores is somebody that is slow to anger, but when she gets there, leave her alone.
Okay, so let's talk.
I'm trying to pull it up from the vagina like she told me. I'm still working on that. Hell, if I'm gonna make it to 87, I gotta pull it up. Y'all better pull it up.
Okay.
Pull it up.
Okay.
Pull it up.
Okay.
Caroline, pull it
Listen,
up.
all right, we're taking the coffee away. We're done.
Pull it up.
We're done with the coffee. Okay, now listen. Now
I want to
here's
get
what
to
we can do.
87. I'm pulling my vagina up every day now. And when
Okay.
I get to 88, I'll pull up something else.
Listen to me now.
Yes, okay.
Vaginas are pulled up, no more coffee for you. Now here's what we're gonna do. So, you all have lots of questions. We usually save a little bit of time for questions at the end. We're not gonna do that. I'm gonna do a little bit of questions if I can get any in. And then we're gonna open up the questions to you. But you gotta be ready so that we can make this session matter, okay? So we have 4 roving mics. Mic people, can you just kind of wave, do something so that people can see? All right? So as soon as you have a question, and this is even if she's still talking, which is likely, raise your hand, wave an orchid, do something, so the mic can get to you so that we can bang through, okay? We're good? Yes, okay. So let's talk very quickly. Hacks was a book that came on the heels of the most nightmare election. I know that Gore was a tough loss, but this last one broke your heart again in several places. And you could have written a lot of books. You could have come at this a lot of ways. You were on the inside. You've been on the inside forever. You could have said a lot of things. Why this book? And why did it come out on the eve of the election?
First of all, let me quote someone I had the opportunity to know and admire. The great American poet Maya Angelou said, she said, "The greatest burden we have is an untold story inside of you." And I felt throughout that period of time when I would go on television, now remember, I used to be a TV pro, and I would say, well, the Russians, well, how do you know? Well, first of all, we had ample proof. We had the malware, the spyware. I was briefed by the FBI and others. And by the way, I want to tell y'all, real sisterhood is not what I call words only. Susan Rice is a sister. She had my back, and she warned me what to do. I took her advice. So I knew what was happening to our country. We were under attack. And yet, when I appeared in public, people acted as if I had lost my marbles. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I stopped talking about it. But it kept bothering me that nobody knew, that the world didn't understand that we were being attacked. Like Pearl Harbor, like 9/11, the country was under attack. But this attack was a cyber warfare. It was happening daily in our lives. If anyone in this room has ever been hacked, if anyone in this room has ever had their identity stolen, if anyone in this room has been harassed by those who don't know you, by bots and troll forums, and I knew that they were foreign because I've been called everything in the book, N word, C word, B word, but then they would put monkey at the end. I said, wait, damn, whoa. I said, now white folks in America, they have their moments, but they never put the monkey there. And what bothered me was that the media was taking the emails like, oh my God, look what they said, without saying that it was hacked, stolen, which is a felony. Yeah. And they put our lives at stake and at risk. I lost someone inside the DNC who worked in my department, voting rights and voter participation. And I felt personally that I had to do everything in my power to tell our story. Hillary told her story, and people were mad at her. Joe Biden has told his story, and nobody was mad at him. Barack Obama's going to tell his story, but when a black woman wants to tell her story, everybody said, well, why are you telling it now? Well, the best time to tell a story is when it's fresh. When you can learn the lessons, when you have to heal wounds. And people were telling me that, oh, you're going to upset the election. They didn't tell me that when I was raising money after I left being chair, when I was traveling around this country on my own nickel and dime. And by the way, nobody told you that when I was chair of the Democratic Party, I wasn't paid. I wasn't your staff person. That's why I named the chapter, I'm not Patsy the Slave. Stop whipping me. And so I wanted this story out there because as a woman who has managed campaigns, let me just run it down. 7 presidential campaigns, 56 congressional, that's House and United States Senate, 19 state and local campaigns. I've worked in 49 states. One more state, I'm going to become Miss USA without the bikini. And here I was the chair of the Democratic Party, not for the first time, ladies and gentlemen, the second time. Who in the hell takes that position twice? For free. I gave up everything in my life because I didn't want any conflicts. The only thing I kept on my agenda was my class because I believe in my students. And let me tell you something. I have learned there's only one friend I have, and that's Jesus. I mean, so when I read these indictments that Mr. Mueller putting out, y'all know I sit back and I read all 37 pages, and I'm like, check, check. And you know what? It ain't over. Mm-hmm. Y'all are just getting to the, what I call, you know when you eat an ice cream and y'all lick the top, and y'all don't know what's dripping at the bottom? There's a lot at the bottom. Yeah. So just sit back, wait. But I'm gonna tell you something. I had to tell my story. Now, if someone has another story, write it, promote it. But I told it. And by the way, the weekend before the election in Virginia, you know where Donna Brazile, I was up at Harvard. Every time the winner of the Electoral College loses the popular vote, I go to Harvard. Because I have to study what the hell happened. Because I know cheating when I see it. And so I'm flying from Boston to D.C. to go over into Virginia to campaign. I'm raising money for the Virginia Democratic Party, New Jersey Democratic Party. I'm going down to Alabama on my own nickel because I believe in you. I believe in this American people, and I will never leave you on the battlefield. Justin Fairfax was one of my kids. I'm proud of him. He's now a lieutenant governor. And I was there to campaign, and I kept asking myself, I am 57 years old. What the hell am I doing in Virginia? Well, Kathy Tran asked me to come and go door to door. Oh, I like to go door to door. It's better than trick or treat. When you ask people for votes, y'all think trick or treat when y'all get candy. Oh, no, I go there and say, are you registered to vote? Donna Brazile, what you doing in my house? I'm here to hunt you. Are you registered to vote? Kathy Tran won that seat, and she's the first Asian American woman to ever serve in the Virginia House of Delegates. So don't ever tell me what I can and cannot do. If it's in your spirit, write it. And by the way, no one's going to write your story better than you. All you have stories inside of you. And you have not even written the first chapter. Jane last night said Plain Jane. Plain Jane, I can't wait to read Plain Jane. I went on Amazon last night. It ain't there yet. I'm going to tell her today, register. Register her name.
That's right.
Plain Jane. I'm going to read Plain Jane. read. Ida B. Wells Barnett. Today, the New York Times decided that they are going to finally put her obituary in the paper. The woman has been dead since 1931, 32. And let me tell you, why won't they tell our story? You know how important that woman was to our cause? A journalist who fought against lynching, who walked down Pennsylvania Avenue with the suffragists. You don't know her story because nobody wanted you to know it. Now you're going to see it. So tell your story, and God bless all of you who are unafraid to tell your story. Tell it, and I'll read it.
Okay, now you can have your coffee back.
All right.
You earned your coffee back. So the telling of the story was important.
Yes,
the
ma'am.
timing of the story. Did
Was
you
important.
have input on that? Did you have questions about that? What was the strategic plan behind that?
Well, the publisher said we should produce the book 1 year after the election.
Right.
That's what we did.
But you weren't, because I think, particularly for us, I think the issue wasn't that you told your story, wanted to hear your story, believe in you, believe you. But the timing felt, you know, nerve-wracking because there was so much at stake the next day.
Well, no. See, that's the opposite of how I think. I mean, do you think people wake up on a Sunday before the election and say, oh, it's election day? People should know it's election day. Like Tuesday, November 6, 2018 is election day. And a lot of things are going to happen between now and then. That's election day. You should know when your primary election is. March 20th is Illinois. All of them, they're all in my head. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit on the strange side. I know the NFL, NBA, and election day, period. We need to understand the timing, in my judgment, was important because 1 year after the election, we were still litigating what had happened. We were still talking about whether or not the quote unquote, the process was rigged. These are words that came out of Donald Trump's mouth. And so I thought it was important also to get it out. Now, if I had to do it all over again, there's only one thing I would do differently, and I've learned a good lesson. Boy, don't give anybody a full book to do their own excerpts. They took a little bit, they were like treating my book like jambalaya. They took a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I thought they would just put out a chapter. Oh no, they pieced that together. And it made everybody freak out. Oh my God, she said she was gonna replace Hillary. Hello. Hillary didn't stumble. Hillary didn't fall.
She passed out.
She passed out. And the charter of the DNC, as well as the rules of the convention, says in the event of death, resignation, or disability, the chair shall.
I hear you. So here's a question.
And I know people felt uncomfortable, but I am a black woman. I believed in Hillary. Why else would I have done it?
Right.
I didn't give up everything in my life, my job, my livelihood, everything I had built up on my own. I wanted to see a woman in the White House just like I wanted to see Barack Obama in the White House. And I was going to become the chair, the last person in the DNC position while Obama was finishing up his term. And it meant a lot to me because some of my experience, Caroline, I knew I had to close the books also on his presidency in terms of his record keeping. And I got rid of the debt and left the DNC with $11 million cash on hand. Okay.
Yeah. Big job, big job.
Pull it up.
But so here's the thing, you're all pulled up today. We get it? But
Amen.
But here's what I know is that the election, I think a lot of us had a whole lot of trouble getting out of bed the next day after the election, right? And maybe for months after.
It took me a year.
But no, so this is the thing. For you, this was devastating on so many levels because it was not just about the outcome of the election in the end. Pain rained down on you from a lot of different directions over the course of the year that you did this book. And I know that you are just emerging to new joy in the morning, but you had a lot of mornings where you really struggled to find it. So can you just take us, before we open up to questions, through what you have clearly stated was, without question, one of the most harrowing years of your life. and how you got to the other side?
Well, it's extremely personal in the sense that I am one that it took me 10 years to cry after Hurricane Katrina because I was too busy trying to save my family. And I'll never forget that July, 1 month before the 10th anniversary, I went down to Essence Fest and I started crying. And I cried from almost July 4th until the end of August in 2015. And I was crying those tears of joy because I saw my family back on their feet. My family lost everything like most everybody else on the Gulf Coast. They lost their homes, their livelihood, and I lost some family members. And all I kept thinking was, God, I gotta help them. I had 3 lamps in my house. I said, well, they have none. So I gave them 2. I had 4 rugs in my house. I said, well, they have none. So I gave them 3. So I had $300,000 in the bank and I bought 3 houses. Because I did not want my family, I took everything in my retirement, I did not want my family living in those formaldehyde-ridden trailers. And I said, God has put me here for such a time as this. And so I thought, ladies and gentlemen, I thought Katrina was the worst that could ever happen to you in one lifetime. Seriously. I've lost my mother. I've now since lost my dad. I've lost a sibling, 2 siblings. And I thought, okay, that's the greatest pain I'm going to ever feel. Really. I'm thinking about it. DNC, man, bought me another low. Ooh-wee! I was in Washington State with the governor, Governor Inslee and his wife, Trudy, and I got the call that Seth was murdered. I've never lost a child. I have raised literally 300, 400 children. They got different daddies. And I cried. I started crying in July.
Seth Rich, just
Seth
tell him,
Rich.
tell him who Seth Rich is.
Seth, you know, back in the day when people would go marching in the South for voting rights, this little young Jewish boy so believed in the cause of justice and voting rights that he wanted to work in my department. My department has a big job, but little resources, and he came to my department. And so smart, wickedly smart. And he wanted to just create this app called I Will Vote. It allows you to find out if you're registered or if you haven't voted in a few years, to find out your status. I was so proud of him. And so when I got that call that he was murdered, ooh. So I went back to DC and quickly helped his family to make arrangements. I love that boy. That was the beginning. From that moment until the WikiLeaks dump right before the convention, Guccifer 2.0, until I left the DNC, it was like that. And ladies and gentlemen, almost a month after I left the DNC, then my dog, who everyone said, don't they poison your dog. I said, nobody gonna poison my damn dog. That was it. First of all, I had to protect my staff. I did not want anybody else. We were getting death threats. We were getting harassed. We were getting, quote unquote, suspicious packages. My house is like TSA without taking off your shoes. And we had to protect ourselves because—
And you were scared. I mean, you were scared.
Fear?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, indeed. Because unlike working for Al Gore or even helping Barack Obama those 8 years, where you got the threats, oh, this was hardcore. And you were getting daily briefings from everything that had 3 letters: FBI, CIA, NSA, you know. I call them all the spooks, and this wasn't a racial slur. I was like, I'm scared of all of y'all. Every day I had to gird myself. I read the 27th Psalm every day. The Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Whom shall I be afraid? When my enemies come before me, they shall stumble and fall. I prayed my way through it. That's all I could do. And I also had a small group of friends. We call ourselves the Wings and Wine Caucus. I had a serious diet. I had salad by day or soup and red wine and wings at night. I'm sorry, y'all. It was something about that chicken bone. I sit there. And the wings and wine calmed my nerve. And every time the Russians were coming back into our system, I pulled out my best friend. My best friend was Johnny Walker. If you ain't met Johnny Walker, don't try to go and do nothing tonight because I don't know if you can hang. But I had a good friend named Johnny Walker. And Johnny also was very popular. You know, Johnny's in a bottle, so don't think about it like that. You know. It's just a bottle.
Beyond the prayer, though, what really pulled you through? What finally got you over the hump? I know you went away, and you stayed away, and you shut everything down, and then you came back and you said, okay, Caroline, I'm better.
I finished the book. I went up to Harvard, and my mind started to work. Once my mind works, my body can work. I started walking. I started praying, because I don't want to go to the gym. You know, you go to the gym, everybody's like trying to show their muscles and their behinds, and I ain't showing nothing. Now I'm going back because I'm sure I'm all how I can sit up. But I started, and then I went to Hawaii for 3 weeks. I always go to Hawaii after every election cycle, and I look out there for whales. Now, the good news is it's near a new beach, and so when I can't see whales, I just look over there. Oh yeah, I did that. And I came back home and I resumed my teaching at Georgetown. But you know what really did it? I started going back to New Orleans. I just came from New Orleans. I went home. I celebrated. I didn't know if my friends wanted to celebrate my birthday anymore. So you know what I did? I went home. My family loved it. And we didn't go to no greasy spoon, you know, tourist thing where they fry the chicken or fry the shrimp. Oh, no, I took them to a good restaurant. I said it was the best $1,000 I ever spent. Brought all my nieces and nephews together, and they love Auntie Donna. And I'm so proud of them, many of them in college. And Cleo Fields brought in all of the young people that I provided scholarships over the years. And, you know, I realized that I had to keep going for them. I couldn't give up. And by the way, and I said, if I come back, you know y'all know when I come back, I'm coming back, because I got nothing but energy, and I'm coming back. Hey, Donald, I'm back. I'm going back. And let me tell you something. I'm ready.
Are you ready? Do we have a question? Ready? Queued up?
Y'all better get ready.
You have your story. Does the next chapter include running for office? I hear Oprah might be looking for a running mate.
Oh. Y'all, look, I wanted Oprah. Thank you so much for the question. I wanted Oprah to run because y'all know if Oprah ran, everybody would be out there like, ooh, what's under the seat? What's under the seat? And, you know, I mean, come on, Oprah. No, you know what? There was only one period of my life, Caroline, that I thought about running for office. I was 24. It was right after I finished the campaign for Dr. King's birthday, and I worked for Reverend Jackson, and I'm like, hell, I might run. Then I said, oh, hell no, I don't like, that's like getting married. I have to be stuck. You're on the city council now, stay there. No. You're in the state legislature. No. You know, no. I like to help you run. I motivate people. You heard Eleanor last night on the video. I will go out and find anybody. Y'all want to run? Call me. I like to run you. I'll push you, raise money for you, raise hell for you. I ain't scared. Girlfriend ain't scared. So I like to run other people. No. In my future, I'm going to run Donald Trump out the White House. But Melania and Barron can take their time. He got 72 hours. Y'all get out by the weekend.
Do we have another question? Where are we?
Over here.
Over here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Question for you. For those of us that's kind of, well, we're all watching the movie, but there's a little bit of concern, at least I'll say for me personally, what's the Democratic platform and how do we get to a victory, not just in midterms, but in the next election? How's that platform playing out and what should we know and talk to amongst those we're trying to encourage to go out to support?
Thank you so much. The platform, I thought, was one of the best platforms because it's full of good ideas. For those of you who don't know how to essentially write policy, and when you decide to run, you have to stand for something, go online. It's on the DNC website. It talks about everything from quality education to jobs to rebuilding America's cities to, of course, criminal justice reform. So it's filled with great ideas, and use that platform to find your voice. After all, politics is about participation, civic engagement, and using the political process to advance policy. And it's important to understand how to come up with real policy that will impact the people who live near you, who work by you, and of course, who play with you and go to church and pray with you. You know, this morning I was reading the Kerner Commission. I was finishing up the Kerner Commission report, 50 years after that important report was done. And it's sad because the number of black children living in poverty, I grew up in poverty. I was born at Charity Hospital in New Orleans. And the number of black children in poverty has increased. The number of Latino children. We have a lot of work to be done. And that's why yesterday I tweeted out, Ben Carson wants to take discrimination out of the housing mission. The 50th anniversary of the Fair Housing Act. How can we, at a time when most people cannot afford to live in inner cities anymore because the rent's too high, I mean, how can we take discrimination out of housing? Especially when the president, as you all know, he was once legally sued for the Trump organization discriminating against black people in New York. Right. So the platform is important to help you find your voice, to raise these important issues. The midterms are extremely important, and here's why. 34 United States Senate seats, we have 33 gubernatorial seats, and we have all 435 members of Congress up for re-election. These are these gubernatorial elections are very, very important because that's where education funds, that's where infrastructure funds come from. It's very important. Many of you are living in red states. You have Republican governors. And the reason why you have Republican governors is because you don't vote in midterm elections. Only a third of you vote in most midterm elections. The highest we've ever seen was 40%. Half of you vote, barely half, in presidential elections. So we're leaving a lot of power at the table. This election cycle matters. If you care about redistricting, if you care about what happens in your state and local politics, this election matters. And come 2020, we're probably going to have anywhere close to 30, 35 people running for president on the Democratic side. Why? So many people believe that since this president is in office, that they can run. And so we're gonna have an adult table. We're gonna have what I call the arts and entertainment table, and we're gonna have an oldies but goodies table. And it's up to you to get involved in these primary elections, run for delegate, and decide what's best. I'm gonna say one last thing on a political note. Obama wasn't the end of our political story. He was the beginning. And had black women not turned out in extraordinary numbers, we made history in 2008 and 2012.
We did.
We made history. Not just with the percentage of black women who supported him, but the number of black women. You didn't even have to, I'll never forget in 2008, they would see me down and go some other ways. We got this one. Black women say, I got this one. You go to another city. If we collectively, we could put Barack Obama in the White House, just imagine what we can do. And yes, we need to educate our white sisters, our Hispanic and Asian American sisters. We need to talk to them about this because it appears that they need to understand why their votes are also important. So remember, we have enormous political power. We're not using it for our own advantage. And I hope this year, Stacey Abrams is running. We have Andrew Gillum is in Georgia. Andrew Gillum is running in the state of Florida. Ben Jealous is running in the state of Maryland. We have people running all over this great United States, including African-American women in Congress as well as African-American men. So please pay attention to local elections, pay attention to statewide elections. Every election is important. Every vote matters. So that's what I would say to you.
While we get to the next question, you know, we came out in 2012. We tried. Yeah. We tried for Hillary. We did. Right. More than anybody else. And you know, I think there's a feeling among black women, we are pulling a lot.
Yes.
And unappreciated and undervalued and marginalized as a group. You felt that way.
Yes.
In this last election cycle, not being paid, being hacked, working those polls, banging on those doors, raising that money, and you felt marginalized and unappreciated.
Yes.
Talk about that as a concept, as a working woman in any sphere. How did you handle that? How would you have done it differently now, given 2020 vision?
Well, two things. One, and I don't fault Hillary. People ask me all the time, have you talked to her? Hell, I didn't talk to her before. No, I talked to Condoleezza Rice. I don't think Hillary understood. Well, I didn't understand. Well, first of all, and I wrote this in the book. I was not fully aware that the Clinton campaign had taken over the DNC prior to her securing the nomination. Had I understood that, I would have had a whole different attitude walking into the room. I would have said, put my money on the table, like my mom used to tell my dad, put my money on the table. I used to love my mom. You know, every Friday was like, here she come, here she come. And my mom was like 5'5", my daddy was 6'5". Put my money on the table. My daddy would put his check right there. When my mom died, my daddy went to cash his check. They told him his signature was not on file. Ooh.
That is hilarious.
I mean, she was tough. And then when my mom would cash the check, my daddy said, well, I need more than $10 to get to work the next week. She said, well, you go out and work this weekend and you make your own money. And then she would tell him to put that on the table too. And so I would have told him, put my money on the table. I had no idea. Right. And so I had to learn this. So I walked into an office where it was being run out of Brooklyn, essentially. And they gave us, in exchange, the DNC was under enormous debt. In exchange for alleviating our debt, they took control of the finances. Now, I didn't need them to take control of my finances. I felt like, you deal with that, let me deal with this. And so we had to split the baby down the middle. And that's when I said, I'm not Patsy the slave, because I'm going to do what I have to do to win, and you do what you got to do, but we clash. We clash. And let me tell you something. I don't care your title. I want my money. Put it on the table. And so I figured out I had to raise my money. And you know what I had to raise my money? It really upset me. Because when Donald Trump said on August 19th, what the hell do y'all have to lose? You know me, I wanted to like, we got a lot to lose. We're going to lose Obamacare, we're going to lose voting rights, and everything we know we have lost since then. And the Clinton campaign said, oh, we're not going to respond. I'm like, we're not going to respond? He just threatened us. He said we have nothing to lose. And so that's when I realized on August 19th I had to raise my own money. Mm-hmm. So rather than continue to fight, I went out and did my own money. And by the way, true to form, I am a black woman. I keep saying that, but I'm going to say it again. I wanted to buy black. I wanted to invest in black newspapers. I wanted to invest in black radio stations and Hispanics and Asians. I just thought that, hey. I mean, I'm not taking nobody for granted. I wanted, you know that picture of Obama and Hillary hugging? I wanted that in every black beauty parlor, barbershop. I wanted it in tricolors. And so in order to get all of this done, I had to raise my own money. And that was okay. I'm like, that's how you treat us. I said, don't worry, I'm gonna write it.
Hillary's campaign installed, I don't know if we should call him a watchdog, but they planted a guy there with you who you thought was there to help you.
Ooh.
And he was male,
Clarke.
young,
Clarke.
and black.
Clarke.
So talk about working with, because you work with all kinds of people. You work with across the aisle. Mary Madeline is a good friend of yours. Minion Moore, who worked for Hillary, is a good friend of yours. So you can really, the whole divisiveness thing, you work through that. But this was a young black man who really was there to block you and get in your way. Did his race matter to you? Did it matter in how you dealt with him, and did you feel that was sort of, what did you feel about it?
I became chair on July 24th. July 29th, it became official. August 1st, I sat him down. Brandon, let's do a little Malcolm X thing, okay? I tried to say, you black, I'm black. We ain't fighting each other. Now, I know the Clinton people sent you down here to watch me. Bad idea. First of all, can't nobody keep up with me. If I could have found somebody to keep up with me, I would have a ring here. That's number one. Number two, don't be a snitch and go tell on me. And then I tried to empower him because I like to, whenever I'm gonna say this is for those of you who need to know, when you get elevated, like I said, you open up that table. I was promoting everybody and making sure that there were ample number of women, minority, gays, Latinos, boom, open the door for everybody. I gave him a seat at the table, and he used that seat to try to undermine me.
Right.
And I did not appreciate that because I told him, I said, Isabella is your daughter. I'm doing this for Isabella. I'm doing this for the future, our future. And yet he felt obligated. And I understood his role because they had, again, he was put there in April. I had no idea that prior to July 27th, when Hillary became the nominee, that these decisions were made behind the DNC's back because it was a staff-to-staff decision. And had I broken up this so-called joint agreement, it would have caused a lot of, you talk about timing, that would have been the worst timing. It would have been 2 months before the election. So I waited a year after the election to tell the story. But you got snitches, you got Becky. Becky who don't believe in herself, and Becky think you're gonna get somewhere faster than her, and she pretends that she like it, and she's constantly trying to pull you down. And I didn't like that. You got people think, brothers like, well, got a woman here. Well, honey, you could have done the same thing I did over the last 44 years of your life. You could have spent all them years like I have in Iowa, New Hampshire. You didn't sacrifice nothing. I did. So that's why I'm in this seat. Hello. And, and I ain't trying to block nobody. I've never tried. And by the way, I've never kicked anybody out the seat. I've made a lot of people push over. But we have to understand there are people inside your life that are not positive that you're going to have to figure out how to just move them aside. And when people try to block you, don't go out. I don't do the frontal stuff no more. I'm not 28 anymore. I'm 58. I don't do the frontal. I just tell them, I try to have a conversation and say, now, you know what? I understand your role, but you're not going to slow my roll.
Next question. Next question, where are we?
Where the back?
Hi.
Hi. I see you, honey.
I need to first respect and acknowledge your journey, so I'm going to pull my vagina up.
Pull it up. Way up. I just learned last night. And look at these men in this room, so worried they can't even say the VJJ name. Y'all know what we're talking about.
I do want to share a bit of my story.
Yes.
And that aligns with my question. I am a product of my environment, the Me Too movement. My parents were both alcoholics and drug addicts, so it took me a long time to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Good.
And so I want to ask you, who is your spirit animal? Because you have become mine. I just love you. I'm going to cry. But thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Well, I appreciate that. Of all of the animals, whenever there's lightning and thunder and a storm outside, everybody run. but the buffalo. The buffalo is the only animal that actually runs toward the lightning and the storm. So I am a buffalo. That's my spirit. Now, I'm also, y'all know I'm a tiger. I'm the biggest pussy cat. You ever seen Elizabeth Taylor and Cat on a hot tin roof? That's who I really am, okay? But I got that buffalo in me. I know I'm a fierce warrior. I know what God put in me because of the things I've already gone through. Like you, I've gone through so much. Like you, I've seen so much. Like you, I felt so much pain in my life. Like you, I thought that there was nothing but dark days. And yet the joy comes through. Sometimes God put all of that in front of you to strengthen you for the battle. So you are here for a momentous occasion. And, you know, I always, when I was a little girl, especially growing up and coming through the ranks, and people were like, what do your parents do? I said, well, my mother's a maid, my father's a janitor, which means I know how to clean up anybody's house, but I'm not picking up none of your shit. So it ain't where you've been, it's where you're going. You're on your way. You're on your way. And when you get there, please call me, because you know I will come and help you celebrate. Thank you.
Where are we? Right here.
Hi there.
Hi, I'm Bridget Harrington. I've watched the Republican Party regenerate itself, and most of the people that are in instrumental positions now are young. And then I look at the DNC and the Democratic Party, and what I notice is that we have Nancy Pelosi. And while I love all of the older people, it's time to pass the baton. So how do we have that happen?
What did I tell you last night? Scoot over. Don't ask anybody. You know, when you talk about diversity and inclusion, a lot of you are working in that what I call that role and responsibility. People get really ticklish when you tell them to get the hell out the way. Or go on, move on. We need both. We need to experience the Nancy Pelosi's of the world, and we also need to begin to recruit the next generation. I try to do both. I'm gonna tell you, before me and CNN Park Company, I made sure that Angela Rice, Simone Sanders, Bakari, Sellers, I have promoted Ana Navarro, Maria Cardona, because I don't care what you look like, because we know we need everybody. And I am so proud of that. So when I don't see myself, I see them, and I know that's me. And sometimes when Angela cuts up, you know, girlfriend, you just went total hood on them. Don't hood them. I want you to stay. But these are my babies, okay? And so we can do both. I try to tell my millennials, I know, look, first of all, I'm not 58, I'm 29 for the second time. Okay? And when I turn 60, I'll be 30 for the second time. It'll be a long time before I even get to 80. But now that I know what happens at 87, all right. So let's not make, I don't want John Lewis to lead the room. He still practiced good trouble. I want him to scoot over and make room for the next group of leaders. We need their spirit, we need their energy, we need their history, we need their experience, we need to learn from them. Just like we made room for Barack Obama, we're gonna make room for the future. But let us find a way to encourage more people to get in the room, find their seats at the table, even if they have to bring in, some of y'all have to bring in folding chairs. I love it when my millennials say, well, I don't have a chair. Bring in a damn folding chair. That's what Shirley Chisholm told me, bring a folding chair. In fact, bring in 3. So don't look at no as, oh, I can't do it. No, no means next opportunity. All right?
Love that. Love that. One more question, last question.
Hi, Tawana Atwater with Dell. Good morning, sisters and brothers. I believe that experience is the best teacher, should we choose to learn from our choices. So I would like to ask you, what would you say was the biggest lesson you learned in 2017 and how that will impact the decisions that you make for 2018 and beyond?
Great
Thank you
question.
so much. And by the way, I didn't mention Dell last night. I apologize as one of the core sponsors. Personally, I use Mac in my house, but I have Dell. But I have Dell at my office at Brazile & Associates because I'm an entrepreneur. So I want to thank you all because if y'all haven't heard me on the customer service line, it means that your product is very, very good, and I really appreciate that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And by the way, I also want to thank AT&T again. When I got up to my room last night, I said, there's so many of you that I've known. I go to a lot of NAACP and Urban League dinners, and I want to say something about AT&T for those of you who have these little gadgets and gadgets. They are at the majority of these NAACP events. I was down in Mississippi, they were there. When I went up to Minnesota, they were there. I want to thank you for what you do all over this country, AT&T. And nationwide, I said to Nationwide, I'm on your side. Let me tell you, I know this because I travel and I get around this country and I go to banquets and everything for my folks. And I have to say this because some of y'all talk the talk, a lot of y'all, you know, y'all go in there and y'all fight for these resources to sponsor these events. And I want to say thank you. So I appreciate all of this. So back to the young lady's question. There's one thing I learned in 2016 that I'll take with me for life. Protect yourselves. Protect your identity. Half of you have been hacked and you don't even know it. Equifax was hacked. That's your personal information, your social security, your date of birth. Now, it's against the law in 47 states to exploit that information, but who in the hell is protecting you? Donald Trump? Hello? No, nobody's protecting you. So have your credit check, get a credit report, see who's peeking into your quote-unquote data. Do not use password lower p as your password. Do not use 1234 as your PIN. Get smart about cyber hygiene. Your companies, I'm gonna say something to y'all. Y'all know how y'all like to go to these conferences and y'all get a little stick, and then you go home and stick it in something? Well, you don't know where it's been before. And you're sticking it, and you're bringing it to work, and you're bringing it home, and you're sticking it where you don't know where it's been. And I ain't got to tell y'all that you don't have a condom on it. Protect your cyberspace. Teach your children and grandchildren about cyber hygiene. It's very, very important. The next war, it's not going to be missiles and bombs dropping in your neighborhood. It is going to be cyber warfare, your own personal identity, your personal information. And once that information is anyway corrupted, man, it's tough. It is tough to get your life back. I've been hacked by both the Chinese through the Office of Personnel Management and the Russians. Now, the North Koreans are now going in this space. The Iranians are going in this space. All I'm asking you all to do is protect yourselves. For me, it's all right. You know, I tried to get Cox Cable when I was home. This is good. And, well, Miss Brazile, yeah, I know I got money in the bank, right? Well, Miss Brazile, your credit is frozen. And I said, thank the Lord. Cox couldn't penetrate it, okay? We have been at war in this cyberspace for a while, and y'all don't even know it, because President Trump, unlike President Merkel or Macron in France and Merkel in Germany, he's not telling y'all what's happening. So one thing I learned, that's why I entitled my book Hacks. It's a war by a different name. It's hybrid warfare. So protect your data, protect yourselves, and by the way, everything you own at home on your Wi-Fi, lock it down and put a decent password. I don't care, and don't name it after your mother or your father or the street you grew up on. Get sophisticated. You can now generate passwords. So that's the most important learn. Protect yourselves, because we're at war. And this is a war that is going to go on for a long time. This is a new warfare. I'm worried about our aviation, our nuclear, our infrastructure. Everything that is connected to this Wi-Fi can be hacked. And all of us, we can all come under what I call some intense pressure. It was not, I mean, I feel better now, but my house, you know, like I told the mailman, I said, don't be tipping in my box. He said, what you mean? I said, I got a camera there. I now know that in the backyard, it was a possum that was eating up my tomatoes. I thought it was a raccoon or something else. Cameras everywhere. I got motion sensors. I know what time this morning my brother got up in my house. Sensors. Now, I know there's nobody else there. Sensors. And I had to take all of these steps just to protect myself. So, and additional steps to protect the infrastructure at the DNC. But now I'm asking you to take your own cybersecurity seriously and to protect yourself. If that's one thing I can leave with you. And buy the book because it's fun.
The book is fun, and the book actually has a whole section on how to protect yourself in it. That's how much he really cares about it. So there's a little primer in here on how to protect yourself. You thank, I counted like 4 times because the number kept changing. You thanked 108 individual people in your acknowledgments,
yes,
which were almost as long as the book. You thanked the Teamsters, you thanked the mailman, you thanked everybody in the world, living and dead. We really, really, really want to thank you this morning for being here. Donna Brazile, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you. Bless you. Thank you.
Awesome.
Oh.
And just so you know, Donna is in the lead on the Twitter contest because, you know, she tweets like crazy. So hashtag BEWPS, get on it, or she's walking away with the prizes. Dancing away with the prizes.
I'm going to tweet the hell out of you because I love you. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Senior Director, Event Sponsorship Sales for Black Enterprise, Honoree Daniels.
Thank you and good morning. Before we transition to the next portion of this morning's program, I have a few housekeeping items to share with you. But first, let's give Donna Brazile another round of